Music. Music is an infinitely wonderful thing. I'm wondering why why does my channel have commercials? Why is there a commercial on my channel? It's not like I make any money for doing this. It's odd. It's very, very odd. Anyway, doing some work on the companions and the followers, uh, the rules and the martial class to an extent. I'm going to be keeping a little bit away from the martial class and finishing up the hireling creation rules, as I feel the companion creation rules, the pet creation, is already really fleshed out and really solid. So with that, I'm gonna keep going. If you have any questions as to what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, or anything, feel free to type in the chat. Or maybe I should put that down here. Feel free to ask questions. Ah, you monkey's uncle. This creature likes to borrow things without asking or giving it back if they can help it. As an action, this creature, since it's being repurposed and adapted, an item from the beast. Once per combat encounter, this creature may take damage equal to its beat up threshold to summon a demonic ally whose max HP may not exceed the summoner's beat up threshold. Yeah, that should not be purchasable. Or should it? If purchased for a hireling, pet rules and using pet rules. I gotta get the wording right. Where's my pet rules? Background feats. These are just some of the stuff that I'm adding. Companion and followers. I had it on. Ability points. All right. Table 2, 3. Now I gotta jump. Should be up to large, right? So that's not so bad. The demon slash ally demon beast is made from the summoner's own blood. Why you keep telling me that this is wrong? Really? Are you for really? I don't know if you for really though. Whatever. Just give me a second. All right. Okay, so Bloodborne Demon, for a hireling may seem complicated. It requires a little bit of prep, but not that much. You know, hirelings should be, I mean, they can be built quickly within a minute you can build a hireling, or 2 minutes you can build a hireling. But the Bloodborne, a hireling with Bloodborne Demon, I think, is a little bit difficult. Like, that's a powerful NPC. And I just want to put that there because with the idea of maybe you're hunting down this evildoer that has control of demons, is always said to summon a demon to do its actions for it, into combat. You meet this guy, and you find out that, I don't know, this guy or this girl or whatever, this evildoer, and somehow, because you never know what players will do or try to do or come up with, and somehow befriend this evildoer, right? And make allies with this evildoer. So eventually, maybe, they could acquire this evildoer as a follower. They probably won't, because they probably won't have the command point cost to do so, but it's there. It's a possibility, you know? And I would rather any allies of your players be hirelings or pets if they're beasts, instead of used specifically from the evildoer creation toolkit, because the pet hireling, or companion follower rule set is built to make it easier to keep track of such things, while the evildoer creation tool set is specifically designed for things your players can fight. Things with a little bit more oomph, more power, more stay. That, and NPCs should never be quite as powerful as your players. And if you want them to be as powerful as your players, just use the evildoer creation toolkit, and you could expedite it, or you can improve upon it by giving whatever you pull out of there hero classes. Performer, Eldritch Knight, no, not Eldritch Knight, it's Sorcerer, Arcane Warrior, Massive Weapon Warrior, Priest, Heal Monkey, Green Knight, Knight of the Emerald Oath, Spell Baron. You can give them all of that to customize them even further, but it's a little bit more work, a little bit more to keep track of. And with the follower rules, it's less work, less to keep track of, and it's faster. But yeah, the Bloodborne Demon, I'm seeing that as like someone you might hire rather than have as a follower, and probably limited to RPMA games. This creature and any ally. Oh, and any of this creature's allies of the same type may, as an action, become invisible until the beginning of their next round. If pair purchased for a hireling. Hey, I can't type. If purchased for, see, I can't type. Purchased did. If purchased did for a hireling. The hireling and a number of its allies, hirelings tier. Till the end. Next round, not the beginning, the end. Their next round. Purchased did. I feel like just leaving it there because it's funny. There's an action. What should that cost? I think 20 or 14. It depends on the tier. Because that could be powerful, man. Very powerful. Blink. This creature, as an action, may become invisible until the beginning to the end of their next round. Yes, 24. Just plain blind removes. Next 20. Should be 50. It's just simple. All right, so this is the base trait system for evildoers, hirelings alike. Traits to further customize the types of evildoers, beasts, monsters, and or hirelings / followers you wish your players' characters to face down or to help your player's characters. Add one or more traits. Make your evildoer or hireling follower amphibious, cowardly, sadistic, or even make them all three. While adding traits doesn't give you the same complexity as giving a creature character levels, there can be many epic adventures with many unique enemies and allies to be had just by adding a few traits and taking the creative liberties in the creature's description. Some examples of creatures created with the evildoer hireling tables. The evildoer or hireling tables. Why is this? I don't know what I did. My brain just shut off with why that was wrong. Anyway, some examples of creatures created with the evildoer or hireling tables, and these traits will be at the end of the section. Each trait has a cost attributed to them. This cost is the base cost of the trait when being purchased for a hireling follower. When creating any monsters, evildoers, or any creature opponent that you wish your players to fight, you may, as the all-powerful GM, ignore this cost. When creating hirelings, this cost is the base cost and may be modified by the multiplier attributed to the particular hireling table. See the companion follower section for more details. This is the alpha development of it, so it's not currently in the book. But when it is in the book, this will be hyperlinked to the companion follower section. And here are the traits below. The base cost of the traits. This is the base command point cost. So if you go up, I can't believe this is already 12 pages. It's ridiculous. This is an example of the hireling tables. This is table 3, powerful hirelings. Your hireling's ability save. So anytime they are called to make an ability save, like a dexterity save, a strength save, constitution save, wisdom save, any of that, whenever they're called to make a save, they roll d20 plus their tier plus 3. So if I grab a d20 just to get some random rolling. Alright, say an enemy casts Fireball, and the DC of the Fireball is 12, right? And the hireling that you've hired is a level 6 hireling. So their tier is 3. Right? Alright, I rolled a 12. I mean, that's a save anyway, but the d20 roll of 12 would add their tier, which is 3, bringing it up to a 15, and then add plus 3 to the roll, bringing the final total of the dexterity save to an 18. Now, the magic ability DC is the target difficulty class for any roll that a hireling's magical ability would call for, right? So the DC would be 10 plus the hireling's tier. In the case for that same tier 3, level 6 powerful hireling, it would be a DC 13. So, for instance, the Blind Master. The Blind Master would attack a target and force that target to roll an ability save, a dexterity save, and the DC for that dexterity save would be 13. It's not terribly high, but considering, you know, how much ACs can fluctuate, it's a different attack method. Right? The trait cost modifier. So you saw that we were at the bottom already working on traits, and each trait had a cost attributed to them, being that these are the powerful hirelings, the powerful hirelings. The trait cost modifier is multiplied by half. Traits cost powerful halflings. Traits cost powerful hirelings half as much. So, if you go down to traits, The Blink Aura would cost a powerful hireling half as much. The Blink Aura would cost a powerful hireling only 21 points instead of the 42. To add to their kit. Now, encumbrance threshold. Hirelings have an encumbrance threshold because whatever gear they're equipped with is really how you get the most customization, right? So they're going to have gear. Now, powerful hireling has an encumbrance threshold 8 times their tier. So going back to that level 6 hireling, they're tier 3, so they would have an encumbrance threshold of 24, meaning they can either carry a lot of critical gear or they can carry some pretty powerful critical gear, like wielding, say, a suit of dwarven plate, a tower shield, and the Anostolita, for instance. The Anostolita is a magical sword that transforms. Just as a for instance, or when I release the item creation toolkit, which is also in alpha development, that's the next stage of this major series of updates for SMTT. You'll be able to custom create almost any type of weapon you want, and it will have cost, monetary cost, as well as encumbrance cost, all modifiers. It's pretty in depth, pretty comprehensible, and you can get hundreds of thousands of combinations of weapons. That's the name of the game, right? Being easy to understand, implement, but also having a high degree of customization. Like, there is, with the item creation toolkit, currently I've only been working on weapons. I haven't got to the armor or the gnome crafted, the high-tech steampunk gear. But you can create a staff that has a spearhead, right? So you can create some form of yari or war spear that is actually etched with magical spells. So the wielder of the war spear can cast certain spells, and the spells can be chosen during item creation. Once those spells are chosen, they can't be changed. But you could have this tier 3 hireling wielding a magical weapon that has the ability to cast, the combust spell or dancing flames. And he's not a rinky-dink kind of guy anymore. I mean, you could get really crazy with some of the weapons with the item creation toolkit. Like, there's a weapon enchantment that grants flight, that adds fire damage to the type of damage it deals. I mean, with the weapon that grants access to spells, there's the whole slew of spells that you can choose from. There's Grimrock's Massive Hammer of Grimrock was an item that was created for a player. It's a hammer that deals fire damage to everything. Like, it can deal fire damage to fire elementals who are normally immune to fire damage. It can still hurt them. Right? And it deals 10 damage for every awesome power of the wielder. So for this guy, it would deal 30 damage, right? It has an encumbrance total of 7, just to hold on to it. And you need a AP of 4 to wield it in one hand. if I remember correctly. So this hireling would need to wield it in 2 unless you also purchased the Belt of Gigantic Strength for the hireling, which means he would be able to wield it in 1. You know, so he could one-hand Grimrock's Hammer of Grimrock, have a Belt of Gigantic Strength, Bag of Holding, you know, oh man, a tome, like a wand? No, not a wand, a tome, the Flying Tomes. The Tome of Destruction, be upgraded to have, you know, a spell, like a fire spell, that he casts, which does, you know, 2d4 plus 4 damage. Just, I mean, it's weak compared to the, you know, Grimrock's Hammer of Grimrock, but, you know, it's just the insanity of it all. I mean, there's a way to create gloves, like leather gloves that just are inscribed with spells, so that you can get the spell feature by wearing the gloves. So he can get those gloves to cast spells, then wield, you know, Grimrock's Hammer of Grimrock in a suit of dwarven, and he's the hireling. He's just somebody you pay to follow you. And if you're a marshal, you may be able to turn him into a follower, deputize him into a follower, so that he's always with you. He's one of your boys, you know, which I think is pretty cool and amazing. So, this is the table to create powerful hirelings, right? The idea is that hirelings are NPCs, and as such, always created by the dungeon master, by the game master, you know. And you meet these hirelings during your travels. Now, as a marshal, you can turn hirelings or NPC friends that you make into your followers, and then they'll follow you wherever you go. They'll benefit from your martial-only maneuvers, which makes them even better, which, you know, makes you command the battlefields and whatnot. Which I'm still working on the martial. Like, everything is, this is like late alpha right now. I'm almost ready to go into beta testing of the followers, not the martial, but just the followers. And I've already ran one test with the companion rules, with the updated rules to the ranger, and a friend of mine is using the new beta edition for his home game, his campaign, for one of the players who's playing a ranger. I can't remember what creature his player has, but I remember in the test, my boy Josh created a, what was it? It was like a spined hedgehog ankylosaurus monster. This giant mace tail. He was wearing armor on top of his natural plating. It was just insane. It was cool. It was fun. But that's the companions and the pets. And he wrote it as a mountain. Great. Anyway, moving right along. So, for hirelings, there's 3 tables that a GM can make a hireling from. Right? Now, if your player is looking for a specific type of hireling, they can always let you know, tell you, maybe tell you about people in their past that they might have, you know, befriended and may run into in the future. And it's up to you to make that friend. The hirelings, the final say on the stats of a hireling before they become, before they're hired by a player or made into a follower by a marshal, is up to the GM. I haven't written the rules yet. I will soon. But there will be a cost where while you're in town, you can train your hirelings up. You know, train your followers to better levels. Right? Once they become your followers, you know, they once you have a follower, you want them to stick around for a while. They're your boys. They're your peoples. You know what I'm saying? And as you level up, if they stay static, that's gonna suck. So there will be a way to train up their abilities and to purchase within reason. Like you can't have a follower and just purchase wings for them. You can't train wings onto them, right? They don't grow wings as part of training. But if your GM has a wyvern, right, which is a humanoid race in SMTT, right? If you run into a winged wyvern and his wings are broken, and the wyvern, this character is under attack, he can't fly away, or can't defend himself very well. There's too many undead, let's say, attacking him, and you roll in, you save the day, you and the rest of your party. And the wyvern is grateful, and he follows you and decides, that on the way back to civilization or to a safe place, that he respects you, and through interactions decides to join you on your journey. And let's say you're a marshal and you make this wyvern your follower, right? You deputize this wyvern, broken wing and all, right? He can't fly, but you through like the training thing, give him the winged trait. You could treat it as if his wings healed, or your GM could just say, X amount of level or X amount of time, the wyvern's the command cost will go up because his wings healed and he's more valuable and powerful. If that brings the command cost higher to a point where it's higher than you as a marshal can handle. Maybe the wyvern is like, I'm healed now. I've learned so much from you. It's time that I go and I help people, in my own way now, and leaves. All handled through the roleplay. Or maybe your follower just gets wings. Like, it's all through the roleplay. The point is to have a toolkit that can, not what is it? Subsidize creativity? No, that's not what I mean. But facilitate. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Facilitate. And they can facilitate the creativity of GMs and players alike. So here I am. Weak hirelings. Armor class means nothing. They wear armor. Oh, armor class. Oh, that's right. All right. Let's base armor class. How could I have forgotten about this? Base armor class. For a player character, Phil, the hell? For a player character, his value is 10 plus. Dexterity mod. However, hirelings don't have ability. Stats or ability modifiers. So, base. So the base AC value on the table plus worn armor. That's easy enough to understand, right? The base armor class is the AC 4. What? Is the AC for a hireling without armor. For a player character, this value is 10 plus their dexterity mod. However, hirelings don't have stats or ability modifiers. So, the AC for the AC for a hireling is the value listed on the table plus any worn armor. Base armor class. Alright. Just gotta start. Oh, sweat! Also, I gotta change those colors because, you know, easier to read and all pretty like. There we go. Man, oh my gosh. The lack of eating breakfast is catching up to me. I feel it. I can feel it. Alright. It's week. It just be 10. Plus one armor. For basic hireling. $12 plus any worn armor, and for powerful, we're gonna bump that to a 14, right? Right. Oh no! Base armor class. Armor class bonus I should do because armor class works differently in this game. This is what I get for working on too many things at once. This is delete. This armor class bonus. Yeah. Yeah. No. Because the AC depends on the armor class. Class is alright, let's just completely remove that for a player character. Unarmored. This plane. 10 plus dexterity mod. I can't type. My hands. However, hirelings don't have stats or ability modifiers. So, armor class bonus is what? What is applied to the base of 10 for the base armor of this AC of worn armor. Value. Dexterity modifier. Depends on the table used to create the hireling. So, armor class bonus for weak hirelings was 2. Plus 1, plus 2, and plus 4. Right, that sounds good to me. So that's essentially what I wanted to do, but I made the base for weak ones higher. Should it be plus 0 for weak? Like, they're just so bad. That sound is hot. So I would need to save this. And let's create a hireling. Alright? This is not tabled in a nice fancy way yet, but this is the gold cost to hire a hireling. Right, so to hire a weak hireling is 5 times their total command score plus the gear every 10 days. So a 10 day is 10 days. Right? So every 10 days I don't like how that hole looks like that. We'll just Yeah, it looks a little bit better. I don't know. I'm bugging out. Anyway. So weak hireling is gear cost plus 10 times their total command cost. Basic is 20 times the total command cost plus gear. And powerful is 50 times their total command cost plus gear for every 10 days of service. Right? That could get kind of expensive. That's why we have the marshal that can turn these things into followers. So, let's what? Why'd this flip over? What's a decent name? Let's just load up a name generator real quick, just cause. All right. Follower concepts, not follower hirelings. I mean, we don't need names for them. Like, you could make a base one and just, you know, add the name later on. But I like a name. Helps inspire me to work. So. Alright, this is not the name that's generated quite, but I think. Tolika Dream Scream. Ooh. Let's get a basic thing. Tolika. I'm gonna randomize it a little bit in my own mind. So I'm gonna roll a D3 to see which table Tolika Dream Scream comes from. This is gonna be orc, right? A female. She's a female. No, a female. Oh my gosh. Female orc. Just some bullet points going. What table? Table 2. What level? Get a D20. There's 20 levels, right? Oh my gosh. Level 12. Table 2. Level 12. Alright, so let's bring up not table 3, table 2. She's level 12. I'm just gonna copy the table real quick. Paste it here and delete everything that's not level 12. Okay. So, armor class bonus. Yeah, that's that. What traits should we give her? What traits should Dream Scream have? Let's look at the traits. Amphibious, Blind Master, Blink, Blink Aura. I think Blink, right? Blink is 24 points. Burrower, Carnage. I think Fear Aura. Fear Aura is what? 50. Damn. And anything else? Hard hitting, hard to kill. ranged magic. Okay, ranged magic is 10. Alright, alright. Magic. Make it psychic. Points. Alright. So that's her dream scream attack, is the psychic and fear aura. And I guess we'll leave it there. Right? Gear. I mean, we already know her encumbrance threshold is 4 times her tier. She's tier 4. So 4 times 4 is 16, right? I'll put 4 there just to... Awesome power is 2. Magic ability DC is 12. So DC plus D20 plus 5 because she's tier 4. Tier 4 plus 1. Right? That's our saves. D20 plus 5. Trade cost modifier. Alright, we'll handle that. Well, alright, we can handle that now. 24 plus 50 is 74. 74 plus 10 is 84. And 84 plus 15 is 99. So she costs 99 command points. Just delete all this stuff. All right. So she does 2d4 plus 6 psychic damage. The DC of her fear aura is 12, and she can turn invisible for about a round. That's Tolika Dream Scream. Gear. What gear should Dream Scream, this orc woman, be wearing? And gear costs twice as much for orcs because they're built like freaking apes, like gorillas. So they have to get things customized as if they were one size category larger. Let's see, I have SMTT PDF open, right? Yeah, boom. We don't need none of that, we need gear. Gear tables. Let's look at weapons. What's a good weapon for an orc by the name of Dream Scream? You want to give her a lightning staff? Maddness. What's a Maddness again? A Maddness is a magical staff of pure crystal. It's a crystal staff. That's right, it's on the staves. I'm gonna give her an axe. Or a hammer, right? Alright, we'll just give her a Morning Star. It costs 15 gold. Alright, she's got a Morning Star, a large shield. I don't know how much a large shield costs offhand, but we'll go to armor tables. Find out. No. Large shield costs 10. See, should we give her any? Man, Shadow Dragon Mail. What up, Kenny? Hold on. My wire got in the way of your comment. I couldn't read. Yeah, Dream Scream. Olika Dream Scream. I'm making a hireling, an NPC that can be hired by players, and possibly even turned into a follower if you're a marshal, using the follower creation toolkit that I am currently developing for SMTT. So she has her basic stats, and we're giving her gear now. And I came up with the name in part with a random name generator of Olika Dream Scream. And with the name of Dream Scream, I figured, you know, she'd have some sort of psychicness to her. So currently, she is a female orc, table 2, level 12. So this is table 2, basic hirelings. Right? Her ability saves, so whenever she's called to make like a dexterity save, strength save, constitution save, is 1d20 plus 5. Her magic ability DC. So anything that she does, I should change the name, because magic ability DC kind of implies less than just what it does. Anyway, her ability DC is 12. So for Fear Aura, for instance, whenever an enemy first engages or starts their round engaged with Olika Dream Scream, they must roll a wisdom save or gain the fear condition of her, right, for her. So they're afraid of her. That wisdom DC is a DC 12. Plays the death whistle. She's not a bad guy like that. She's a hireable person. But more on that nightmare in a second. So Morningstar, large shield. What kind of armor? What kind of armor should Olika Dream Scream be wearing? I was thinking of maybe Shadow Dragon mail. Because, you know, Dream Scream. It's actually scale armor. Or should she be more lightly armored? She has a fear aura. She already has a fear aura. Alright, let's just give her hide armor.
Because we exist, the ego appears to exist too.
Right? 10 GP.
When the ego is gone, the realization results by itself.
Okay.
It is the mind that stands between and veils our happiness.
Her pet slash, or should she?
So your business is to find the real nature of the mind.
Oh crap!
See within.
I see an error in what I've done.
The state free from thought.
So let me just go back here for a minute to the traits, to Bloodborne Demon. Right, because I don't have a duration on Bloodborne Demon, do I?
The seer within.
Blood and
Real state.
remains for 1 hour. Okay, but unless the action to summon it again is made before the hour's end. All right. That's 50. Oh, that's too. Is that too powerful? Would look to give her unique but not OP items like a Hydra scale mail, resist all Hydra poison immunity damage. How many times? See, that's the thing. My item creation toolkit is still within the alpha stages. That's the next wave of major updates I'm going to be making to SMTT. Let's give me a second. Compelling power. Follow rules, ideas, gear ideas. Where is it? Gear creation toolkit is here. We can let it load up. Right. You know, damage charts to calculate damage for items and how they scale when you're increasing size or using modifiers. So a type. Would Dream Scream be a ghost hunter and her weapon cold iron? I'm gonna have to start writing stuff down because now we're getting kind of customized here. I was gonna make a simple, but now we don't. Let's see. Magical spells, influence the whale's dreams. My creation toolkit is not at that level. It's only up to weapons, and I'm not even done with everything I wanted to add to weapons. But yeah, so all right, we're gonna customize a weapon for her. This is the alpha state of the gear creation toolkit, so this is not gonna be seen for some time. But yeah, so I want to give her a mace or a flail, but it's gonna be made of cold iron. All right. Reduce the damage by 1 step. So it's a cold iron. Now let's go to classes. I want it to be a mace. Right, leather gloves, hammers, maces. All right. Mace. Base cost 5, 1d6, bludgeoning, and small, right? Any mace of level 5 upgrades is instead of martial a weapon. Any level 5 mace or mace with the following upgrades: chain, flanged, or spiked. Alright. It's a small weapon. I want to increase to a medium size. So that's 1 upgrade. Let's make it spiked. So we could just have it as a clawed mace. And add a chain. So it'll be a clawed flail. Right? Yeah. Yeah, again, this is the alpha state, Kenny, of the gear creation toolkit. It's not really meant for mass consumption yet. But while we're playing around, might as well, right? Get a window into my madness. Like, you could see it's not... I love to do tables and have things very clear and be charted. And this is just a mishmash of just bullet points everywhere. But this is currently a level 3, right? So it's a level 3 mace. A level 3 weapon. Let's make it a level 5. Just cause. Why not? This NPC is a level 12, so... I need 2 more upgrades. I could just upgrade the quality. Yeah. Let's just upgrade the quality. Did my music just stop? Oh my gosh. Can't. So it's a level 5. I need more music. Just give me a second. pump some beats. Come on, bass. Drop the bass. Now, we get to look at hey, Brian, what up, brother? We get to look at a little skip all the weapons now. Special features. All right, Brian. We're making a follower, no, not a hireling, by the name of Olika. That's a lot of tweet and no bass, so it sounds a lot higher. By the name of Olika Dream Scream. She's a female orc who's a basic hireling, level 12. So she's a legendary hireling. Okay? She currently has a fear aura, the ability to fire off a psychic projectile. What else? Where is Olika? She's on a blank document. She can go invisible for a round. She has a fear aura, and she has the ranged magic upgrade of psychic, so she can do a single target psychic blast. She's currently equipped with a Morningstar shield and hide armor. However, I'm changing the Morningstar and doing the alpha version of the gear creation toolkit, giving her something a little bit meaner. She's a legendary hireling, you know. Lord Dark. Yeah, Josh, I'm working on the hirelings. I'm creating a hireling now, and I'm making it more difficult by using the alpha stage of the gear creation toolkit. Like, this is a special hireling. It's not a rinky-dink one. So I was wondering, with the weapon I'm creating for her, would it have any special features? Like, would it be a flail of Belenos, a flail of Hellblaze, a flail of a vampire, of spells, maybe? What do you think? Flail of the Defender. Ooh. Followers aren't heroes, so they can't perform the defeat minions action. So that this would not benefit them. Let's I mean, she doesn't need a special feature. She's already got psychic blasts. All right, so let's go. Let's go up, man. When I actually get to working on this for real, the gear creation kit, I'm gonna bookmark and table everything. It'll be so easy to work with. All right, so cold iron is no change to the cost. So for level 1, it costs 5. Where's the multiplier? I didn't mark down the multiplier for levels. Oh my gosh, I'm a jerk. Wait, mace. Multiplier is 2. Alright, so it's 5, 10, 20, 40, 80. Doesn't need to be 80 because I didn't upgrade it with any specialists. So we'll keep it at 20. Bam. So it's a medium sized. Yep. So Dream Screams flail is medium sized. 1d8 bludgeoning and piercing. and 1 AP requirement. So she can easily carry what she has. Its cost is 20 gold. Oh, I'm nowhere near. Look, I know you enjoyed playing with the gear creation rules. I am nowhere near beta. Like, if I were to drop or finish, let's say after finishing the companions, the pets companions, the hirelings followers, and the martial archetype for lawmen, as well as polishing up the new feats and backgrounds that will be implemented with this next update. After all of that is done, the gear creation rules for weapons, just the weapon portion, might need maybe another 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks before it's ready for beta testing. Because it's close, but I still need to finish out those specials. And then after that, bookmark everything and turn everything into tables and make them nice and neat. Because I hate the way it looks. It's serviceable for just tracking ideas. The idea of what I want it to be. Oh, you're gonna. All right. What about this? Like, oh, Dream Scream. Kenny said that Olika should have a nightmare mount, which means we got to break out the companions and see. She's a medium-sized creature, so she would need a large mount, right? So table 4. Gonna give her something powerful. What tier should the mount be? Should the mount be of her tier? Tier 4? Oh! Table 4, tier 4. Right? So, let's copy this. Alright. This is her mount. Come on, stop misclicking. Forgot to try to use this to delete them. I didn't do it for 3. Oh my goodness. Alright, so we got 14 ability points. Yeah. Which, I gotta harass you about that. Like, what is your player... does your player know about the companion, how to customize the companion? Or did you just do it for them? I do remember you said that in-game play it doesn't feel any more or less powerful in balance as the older companion rules, which is good. So you let them, so they it was easy, the beta for the companion rules was easy enough for them to comprehend, being so new to SMTT, that they did it right away. Like, how was the learning curve for that? All right. So it wasn't too painful. The learning bit wasn't too painful, right? Question, your ranger player, how old are they? Early 20s? Alright, so they're not that young. How are they liking their custom companion? Maybe not. Already, I need 4 points to spend. Might as well. Her chameleon thing. Where's barding on here? Was it in the bottom? No. Abilities, concept. This is why I need to do everything awesome. Like clearing it up. Barding costs for a large is 80 gold. 80 GP. Her weird chameleon thing. Okay, so you're dealing with a 5th edition learning curve. Alright. But it's good to hear that it was fairly easy to understand, though. You know, for somebody that's completely new, that it wasn't too difficult. I like that. That's very good. Awesome. So there's a total of 13 out of 14. Do I want her to be that tough? I mean, do I want her mount to be that tough? Let's go back down to Donkey Kick. How much damage does Donkey Kick do? Class E damage. So damage class E for large is a D10. So wow. If she see, this is a normal pet. She summoned it. I'm too much. Making this one, the very first hireling I ever create using these rules, way too powerful. I'm gonna stop. This is it. This is it. So she has a horse who flies magically, is lightly armored. She probably has like leather armor, leather barding. She wears hide armor. She has a fear aura. Yeah, one player that's completely new to tabletop RPGs. But I mean, if they're learning SMTT fairly easy and it's comprehensible, then I feel like I've done my job. You know, it makes me excited. Like, I did good. You did good, Nelson. You did good. Oh my gosh. You know. All right. So, like, well, what is she wearing? So AC is 14. All right. Slash 16 if she's wielding the shield. So depending on whether or not she's mounted, she may not be using that shield. She may be using her flail to beat on people. Alright. I mean, you know, them being new, I mean, you know, you're a veteran to this stuff, and I remember one, you know, on a couple occasions, once or twice, we had a little mechanics dispute as well. But I mean, in a lot of games that happens. Personally, like I remember back in my days, all rules questions were handled before or after the game back in my day. Anything that was a dispute was instantly ruled on by the GM, right or wrong, and would remain for the rest of the game until there was a downtime, until there was a pause in the game, and then those rules were, you know, worked out. Unless, of course, you had the page number and specific paragraph of where that rule came from, that could be referred to, and you know, quickly in the middle of the game. Like, we handled things like, our games was on point. Our games always quick, and we had like a dozen different house rules too. You know, like back in the day, a post on Facebook made me remember this, but back in the day, we were using like advanced armor mechanics. Every single attack hit you. It did damage. Every single attack did damage. Attacks that resulted in a miss did subdual damage, while attacks that resulted in a hit did damage straight to your hit points, right? And subdual damage, you healed as much subdual damage as you did lethal damage, but the subdual damage would also bring you closer to 0. So, like, you would get knocked out really quick. You just would die, you know, and you died at 0. Like, if you took lethal damage that brought you to 0, you were dead. There's no death saving throws. There was no minus 10 hit points. At 0, you were dead, you know. Like, that's one of the house rules we had that we used to play with because they were awesome. Yeah, you know, that's like, while I do run a pretty relaxed sort of, you know, fun games, I do run a lot of those. I'm actually a very hardcore GM. Like, when I was running for my brother, my boy, and his stepson, you know, a long-standing rule was you have 30 seconds to decide what you want to do when it becomes your turn. If you don't know what you want to do in those 30 seconds, your character freezes in the middle of combat. I mean, it happens in real life where you're like, you know, and that happened in the game. So if they didn't know what they wanted to do in those 30 seconds, that's it. You know, and it kept the games very fast, and it kept people engaged in the game. Because I've noticed, like, people carrying on conversations on, like, online games, multitasking, people at actual in-person games. There'd be people sometimes on their phones texting or checking Facebook in the middle of a game. You know, that's not only disrespectful to your GM, disrespectful to the other players. You know, that shows that you're not invested and you're not paying attention. You should be paying attention when it's not your turn, so you should, so you can know what you're gonna do when your turn comes around. You know? Ultimately, that's how games, I think, really should be played. And the best enjoyed, in my opinion. When it comes to your turn, you're like, boom, I'm, bo, 1, 2, 3, gone. 1, 2, 3, gone. I'm over. The most time, the most time it should take for a round to be completed in the middle of combat should be attributed to the role play of what you're doing, not deciding what you want to do. Like, you've got 30 seconds to decide what you want to do and start telling me what it is. And if you want to take like another 30 because you have an elaborate, awesome roleplay description, that's something entirely different. Yeah, I know you're much more laid back. No, it's not like, hey, I attacked very quickly. It's like, all right, it's your turn. What are you gonna do? You start by saying, I knock my arrow, right? I draw the string of the arrow back. I draw it back nearly as far as it could possibly go. You can hear the very wood almost splintering in my hands as I take aim at the fairy. Poof! I let loose the arrow. It cuts through the air, whistling as it does so. You roll your attack roll. It's a hit. The arrow pierces the fairy clean between the shoulder blades. Running the fairy through, popping out of the fairy's chest. Oh, rolled. It was critical. Like, that's a lot longer than 30 seconds to describe, but it only took 4 to 5 seconds to begin telling the GM what I'm going to be doing, right? Like, if you can't decide what you're doing in those 30 seconds, you're wasting everyone's time. Because think about this. There's 5 players at a table. If it takes you 30 seconds or more just to decide what you're going to do and start describing what you're going to do, that's 30 apiece. That's 150 seconds. That's a little over 2 minutes for a single round, and that's not even counting what the GM is doing. That's almost 2 minutes around just for the players, right? If combat lasts 3, 4, 5 rounds, we're talking 20 minutes to an hour per fight just to decide. No, not 20 minutes to an hour. 2 minutes per player, 5 rounds, about 10 minutes, not including what the GM is doing, not including any of the enemies. 10 minutes in just deciding what you want to do. Not even describing. Not resolving, just deciding what you want to do. That's why. No, it's the resolutions, the die rolls all happen really quickly. Deciding you want to attack, deciding you want to take cover, deciding you want to aid your ally, deciding you want to talk. These things should be fast. These things should happen within the first few seconds of, okay, it's your turn, what do you do? Describing what you've decided to do first. Yeah, you tell mechanics last, but it's the decision that shouldn't take long. Knowing that you want to attack and you want to roleplay, that you have an attack. Just, all right, I grab my sword, I grit my teeth. As even a quick description, right? I grab my sword, I grit my teeth, I stare the orc down, like this chick, the Dream Scream. I charge at Dream Scream, kicking up dirt behind me as I dig my boots in. Pivoting off my forward foot, I draw my sword back, locking eyes with this orc atop her magical mount. And then you roll your attack roll, and then you can continue describing depending on what the roll is, right? It's not like you've got 30 seconds to describe what you're doing. No, you have 30 seconds to decide what you're doing. Because decisions those are the things that take the most time, I find, in a role-playing game, deciding what happens. The best games, like for role-play reasons, they all happen when the decisions come quick. But that's a whole other tangent other than working on the mechanics of what I'm doing. That happens to me. That really happens to me. So basically, Tolika Dream Scream, right? This is a really, really bad, rough state of how it looks. But I mean, it didn't take us that long. Yeah, seen too many streams, 4 hours fighting the same spider mob. You know? But that's the thing. If alright, Kenny, tell me if I'm right or wrong. In a stream like that, isn't it that most of the time is spent figuring out what the character is going to do next? You know, normally, all right, Lord Dark. All right, Lord Dark. Formerly smoking RP vaping gamer. You've been a player in plenty of my games. All right. Now, when things are working out your way, you snap. You are so fast. It's when things start to go wrong, you start taking your time. Okay? You don't take forever, but you do start taking your time, right? And in like a combat, there have been times when you've taken more than 30 seconds to decide or to share your decision with the group, right? Now, on rare occasion, it's not bad, but if it becomes a habit to always decide and begin describing what you're doing within 30 seconds or less, preferably less, preferably within the first 5. You know, it was 30 seconds because my boy's stepson. Before that, it was 10. You know, you had your round, you began. What do you do? If I hear a dead space, I throw my 10 fingers up and start counting down. If you don't describe your action to the point where I know what you're doing, then you stutter. You miss your turn. You know, that's back then. I'm offering 30. For me, I think 30 is more than enough time, because that's you know, half hour battle. After all the descriptions and dice rolls and maths and stuff. Kenny says, a lot of the time I just see them attacking. There's no planning on either end. They'll be doing things like squashing a spider or 2 around from each character, but the mob is swarm-like. You guys have killed 8,000 spiders over the last 8 hours. Hopefully we don't see any more spiders. Yeah, Kenny, have you looked at Saturday Morning Tabletop? Like, do you own a copy of it, or are you just watching some crazy Hispanic develop rules? Like, because in Saturday Morning Tabletop, the player characters have such a thing as defeat minions. You know? Yeah. Defeat minions is a rule for your heroic, watching 3.0, 3.5 Pathfinder. Yeah, they don't have, oh, Zerky Gaming, welcome, hello. This is the first time I'm noticing you here. But the intelligence of a group is equal to the square root of the number of individuals in it. Yeah, SMTT has defeat minions, and there's a specific set of rules. There's a trait, a swarm trait, where swarms are just, you know, you want to fight 800 spiders? Here's 800 spiders. All right, they're a large swarm. They've got rules for fighting swarms, and as you defeat the swarm grows to the next lowest size. And if you AoE a swarm, then you're basically killing most of the swarm, if not all of it, right? And yeah, Brian, Mr. Marshall is the minion killer. In one game, what was it, like 5-10 minutes tops? Not even 10 minutes. It was like 2 rounds, right? His character Saber killed like 1,000 turkey barbarians. No, it was like 1,000 turkeys and a handful of turkey barbarians, right? Yep, Blazing Fury. Lord Dark played an arcade warrior where how many you killed, like 50? Was it 50 adoring fangirls? We played in a game where the GM had us fight this really twisted boy band, and they had obsessed fangirl groupies. And Josh was playing an arcade warrior, and he used his ability called Blazing Fury, which he can spam every round to kill like 50 of them because they were just batched up. You know, it was crazy. And I remember Grimrock, which was a Yeti warrior played by Brian during the beta testing of the very first edition of, you know, the beta edition of SMTT. He played a Yeti warrior, and they were surrounded by like 25, 26 gelatinous skeletons. Like they had skeleton bones inside this gelatinous humanoid, and they were utterly surrounded. And Grimrock had a hammer with the Minion Bane feature, and in one action, in one round, defeated 24 of them. You know? So, in SMTT, there's rules, ways, means, and methods for cutting out swaths of bad guys. You know? Yeah. I mean, that's the point of SMTT. It's to show how powerful, like, these heroes can actually be without having to be too, like, mechanically dense or slow, you know? There's just, in some instances, such as the follower or minion or companion creation toolkit, there's a bit of prep work involved. Just, you know, and the prep work doesn't take that long. Also, Josh, when I do finish the followers, I know you have all your adventuring guilds in your at-home game. Dude, use the followers. Stop making every NPC a player character, because they're too powerful. Like, your players are never going to be able to fight them. Maybe that's what your goal is. I don't know. But, just saying. So, yeah. Moving back to the topic at hand. Olika Dreamscream. She's an orc. Female orc. Level 12. Right? I can just put her name down here. Olika Dreamscream. Right? We're gonna make this a little bit prettier because, you know. Jeez. Not a child. Take the bold off of here. Dum-dum. Alright. Her ability saves, DC 20. Her ability DC is DC 12. Trait cost modifier does not even matter anymore because she's made. Right? Or maybe we should leave it there just in case she becomes a follower that needs training. Her encumbrance threshold is currently 16. Awesome power is 2. In her armor class with her hide armor is AC 14, 16 if she's wielding her large shield. Alright? Dark guilds are enemies. But you can just use the evildoer creation kit. You don't need to give them once you give them player levels, they become even scarier. You know, because then you have all and a bit complex to run, right? Like, maybe like the head or the top tier of the guild, definitely. But, you know, keep in mind the evildoer creation kit where they just run into something. Like, I know that's what you did in our game. Alright, the game you ran for us, the two-shot. You know, but what happens if you know, the players run into a guild that's not their own, but it's not a dark guild? They can make some friends, allies, and may even adventure, you know, go on adventure with them, right? Kenny, my NPCs. This is Kenny. My NPCs, classes outside of 2, can't even try to keep up with the PC classes. But neither of them really fight, in the most part. Yeah, well, in SMTT, the idea is that, like, you have the NPC category, the hireling, right? That's the NPC category, and then the hero category, which is the player characters, right? So, like, a level 12 hero is still going to be better than Olika, you know? But Olika is a pretty kick-ass NPC, you know? She'll probably never join a hero as a follower because she's too powerful, she's too strong, she's too skilled. You know, she's got a fear aura, for crying out loud. You know, yeah, her AC's only 16, right? If she's fighting on her own, her AC's only 16. But if you fail the fear aura check, you're attacking with disadvantage. And she could sit around and just blast you with her psychic attack until you close in. You know, if she's on her mount, she might decide to hit you with her clawed flail, right? Does D8 plus 6, D8 plus 6 damage, which is no joke. You know, or she could do the D10 damage, like have her mount do D10 damage, and if anything, like her mount could fly. She's flying through the air. Just describe her mount as, you know, a midnight black steed with hair the color of fire and flaming hooves. Like when it's running, like when it's flying, it's just galloping on flaming hooves in the air, right? And there you go with Olika Dream Scream. Boom, done. You know, she probably has the fear aura, describe it as having effigies and whatnot. I mean, there's still more gear that she could carry, like, no doubt. Like, there's more you can go into. If you go to the magical gear table, we can start giving her magical gear, like gauntlets of ogre power, bracers of the wall, spell scrolls. She has a magic ability to cast spells, use spell scrolls. You know, Amulet of the Martyr, Amulet of the Sun. Oh my gosh, that would give her a fire aura. You know, holy seals, potions. Just there's all sorts of stuff that we could still give Olika. I just didn't want to make my the very first hireling ever designed with my new system that difficult, like that intense, that powerful. It's just, you know, just kind of happened. So that's Olika Dream Scream, right? Lord Dark. You also made an ogre with the brawler background, sparkling pecs, and 20. Why? He is going to beat the crap out of a player. It's terrible. Kenny, NPC normally in my stuff means that you're being lazy. Levels note your progress. So small, a mall cop, a warrior, special forces, fighter. Okay. Eagle eyes. Oh, the ogre is a character for you. Yeah, see, you know, I got plenty of characters for me as well. I just don't hardly ever get to play. Which, you know, with Brian's Himmelstur, how that seems to be working out, Himmelstur would be amazing to play in. But yeah. So let's Olika, let's tab over. Give you a peek at the actual follower rules currently. You know, this is, I've got the follower creation rules inside of the Lawman Marshal. Oh, you thinking? Oh, I would so play. Yeah, ogres are a playable race in my stuff too, in my SMTT. Yeah, they're fun if you want to hit things, but an ogre mage can be really powerful as well. In SMTT, a tree is a weapon. It's a usable weapon with stats. Oh my gosh. You know. Yeah, let me know, bro. I don't know what character I'll play, but I'll bring something. Definitely bring something. Alright, so let's I don't know what method of generating the command score or the leadership. I think I'm just going to call it the leadership score instead. The leadership score of the marshal. Yeah, that deciphering how that is generated will be the key factor in balancing the marshal. Milky Pong, what's up, brother? What is SMTT? SMTT is the Saturday morning tabletop RPG. That's this bad boy right here. It is a system that I made using the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition OGL. That is the starting point for this rule set. However, it's something completely different than what Dungeons and Dragons is. It's based off my love for Saturday morning cartoons. You know, they don't have them anymore, but they had them when I grew up. So, you know, my love of cartoons and anime and all that craziness is what this was born from. Right? If you want, give me a second. I'll link you to the free version, right? The free version is kind of slowly becoming out of date. Once this next update takes place, the free version will no longer be viable. The free version has the rules to play in the game, right? And it's got a couple of the character classes and races. Up to level 6. Like, you can make them up to level 6. Yeah, it's way bigger than the beginner game. Right? The beginner game is just to whet your palate and teach you the basics of how to play the game. Because there's a few very key changes made to the 5e OGL, which make SMTT what it is. And as I go on, I'm making more changes. I've been releasing them in as updates. It's currently up to, 4 updates that have been released. They've all been fairly minor updates, but since its initial release, changelings have been changed a bit. They're a little bit more nuanced and cooler. They can actually become mimics, changing into objects rather than just mimicking creatures. Man, there are feats in the game, but there are also these things known as bonds. A character could have one bond and one bond only, but a bond is basically a feat that scales with your character, and they're a bit more powerful than feats as well. That's why you can only have one bond, right? There are more classes in the core rules than there are in the beginner game. All the classes go up to level 20, and there are more archetypes for each class, and every archetype within a class is almost like a different class. It's almost like a fresh way to play that class, right? I'll give you a sneak peek. I don't think lawmen they're a bit of a complex class. They're not the simplest, right? The absolute simplest class, I think, is the warrior, right? But your warrior is your basic fighter. They all have their fighting styles. Oh, wonderful. Every warrior has second wind. If you ever play 5th edition, you know what some of these rules are. Except that second wind allows you to get back into the fight. Now, let me bring this back a second. I wasn't ready to explain SMTT. In Saturday Morning Tabletop, heroes never die. That's a rule in the game. When a player character gets brought to 0 hit points, they get the downed condition, which means they can no longer use reactions, standard actions, or bonus actions, but they can still move. Alright? If they receive healing, they can continue on. They no longer have the down condition as long as they have more than 0 hit points. But at 0 hit points, they can roll a d20, and on a 10 or more, get back in the fight. What that means is that they raise their hit points to their beat up threshold, which is 50% their max. They gain a level of Haggard, and they continue fighting on. The heroes never die. So you think of a movie or a cartoon, when the bad guy starts beating up the main characters, like the heroes, like the Ninja Turtles, like Raphael, he gets pummeled and beat because he's defending his brothers, right? He jumps in there and he starts tanking for the rest of the Ninja Turtles, and Raphael gets his tail whooped. He even gets his shell cracked, right? And he's on his last legs. He's like, oh! Raphael is now down, right? And Donatello and Michelangelo and Leonardo, they're like, Donatello grabs Raph and pulls him to the back out of combat. And the fight continues with Michelangelo and Leonardo, right? And then Donatello jumps in to try to defeat, who is it? Not Krang, right? Let's just say Krang, because he had a big beefy robot, right? And Krang is with the robot is beating them down, And then Leonardo takes a lot of punishment, and Donatello is trying to, he's doing the aid action or something. He's helping his brothers fight, and here's Raph laying on his back with 0 hit points. In normal games, he can't do anything until he receives healing of some sort, right? But Raph is crawling back, clutching his cracked shell, and he's watching his brothers get their asses whooped. And he rolls a get back in the fight save at the beginning of his next round. And let's say he fails. He's like, oh, he's still down, he's still crawling back. And on the second, it's kind of like plot armor. On the second roll, he gets back in the fight. Now he's not at 100% because he gains half his hit points back, but now he can fight. He gets back in there. He has that heroic resurgence, and that's at the very core of what Saturday Morning Tabletop is. That second win, that third win, that heroic resurgence, that ability to get beat down and jump back in the fight. Have the ability to jump back in the fight. That's built into the mechanics of the game, and because it's built into the mechanics of the game, it helps to keep things mechanically balanced, because that's taken into consideration all the time. And for a warrior, second wind means they one time between short or long rests, they can get back in the fight for free without rolling and without gaining a level of Haggard. Milky Pog. So it's fantasy RPG Dragon Ball. Kind of, yeah. Dragon Ball it's uber powerful. People get beat up and they get back in the fight. I mean, not just Dragon Ball does it. A lot of cartoons do it. Like Ninja Turtles did it. G.I. Joe did it. The Bionic Six did it. Darkwing Duck did it. What else? Captain Planet did it. There's been movies that have done that. The rejuvenation chamber. There's all sorts of wacky and powerful ways to keep fighting and keep your allies in the fight. Like the knight class. I was gonna tell you about warrior. See, I'm getting distracted again. I get excited, I get distracted. It happens. So the warrior, right? There's 3 types of warrior: the pit warrior, the massive weapon warrior, and the arcane warrior. The pit warrior can wield a lot of weapons. I mean, it doesn't mean they don't need to wield weapons, but they're actually really good without weapons as well, right? At 7th level, they get the ability to paralyze someone with a gut punch, with the gut wrencher. This is amazing, you know? I've had bad guys gut wrenched and have had bad rolling days where my evildoers just stay gut wrenched for rounds and rounds and rounds, right? At 10th level, a pit warrior gets a 3rd wind, which is an additional use of 2nd wind between rests. What is this? Lord's Dock. Anyway, off to watch anime. Yeah, I know the Dewari leaves are basically the Senzu beans. There's a lot of stuff. Potions of rejuvenation as well. Think about that. A greater potion of rejuvenation is like a Senzu bean. Have you ever thought about that? Lord Dock. So that stuff is in the game. Like, okay, unfortunately I've only managed to play two or three different characters in the game I designed, and I designed this with what I'd like to play in mind in every aspect, right? Alright, peace out, brother. I'll see you later. So I've only got a small sampling as a player, right? But some of the other people who have played have Lord Dark is about to peace out, but he had a Bleach themed character, right? Where he had his, you know, Shikai, Bankai, like the whole 9, right? And it was themed off of the Sorcerer class, because the Sorcerer can get a Soul Blade, a summonable weapon that can increase in power. It can be replaced with actual gear, you know, actual weapons can be turned into their Soul Blades, and it's a lot of, you know, awesome customization. So he basically played a Bleach-themed character. Then he played a Pokemon-themed character. He had a player that has played Tokyo... what? The thing with the tentacles. Right? Just to name a couple of animes. Boy of mine, Chepe, played a Sailor Moon type character, a magical girl. He also played a character that was themed off of the big muscle guy in Full Metal Alchemist. The one with the mustache. Brian has played... He's created some wicked characters as well, like Grimrock. I like Grimrock so much, I had to make a t-shirt out of Grimrock. Where is it? Where's my drawer? Alright, I had to make a t-shirt out of Grimrock. Let me just unfold it. Right, Brian? Action, Surge! Is this in camera? I can't even see. I'm all behind it. Can you guys see it? That's Grimrock yelling out Action Surge. Can you see it? Anyway, whatever. I'm gonna fold it now. But yeah, I love Grimrock. Grimrock is a Yeti massive weapon warrior that loves to wield really, 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 really big, heavy, badass hammers. Right? He's an utter beast. Oh, and Yetis have a Cone of Cold attack as well, as a play character. They have the ability to do a Cone of Cold. Brian did that Cone of Cold once when he was like level 1 or level 2 or something. Like, it was so low level. And he's played Grimrock at a bunch of different levels. The highest Grimrock has ever been played at has been level 16, I believe. But yeah, you know, so a Yeti in just black plate armor. Grimrock, Saber, right? A little kid, a child hero who is an arcane warrior and is hyperactive, just destroying all manner of stuff. You know, the Twilight's curse and jeez. Um, that's your boy twice. Grimrock is amazing, you know. Grimrock, because of I beta tested this, I think pretty intensively over its development. So several of the beta tested characters are actually artwork used in the core rules, right? Grimrock is in this book. If I could find him, it's not in Wizard. Is Grimrock there? No, Grimrock's not there. There he is. This is before he had his plate. In the beta, this is artwork that was done, sections that were done before Grimrock got his plate armor. He was wearing studded leather. But this big Yeti right here was a player character. Grimrock. These other characters are pre-generated NPCs, which are actually available as pre-generated characters in the beginner game. You know, that's Grimrock. This is Perrin Balemore. This is, well, that's Merrick. That is Dadok Smith. She is Tia Penzuzi. And the dwarf is a knight, but I can't remember his name. Jeez. Anyway, here's another picture of Grimrock. You can see how big Grimrock is and how small a halfling is. The halfling is trying to wrestle his thumb. It's another picture of Grimrock. This is a Beastblood Wolf War Wizard. So basically a werewolf war wizard. You know, which you can play in the game. You can play a werewolf war wizard. This is another character played in the alpha, actually. Ace Blade Man was his name, and he had two massive swords. He dual wielded massive. So, okay, think of Cloud, right? You know that's the Buster Sword Cloud wielded in Final Fantasy. This guy, Ace Blade Man, dual wields Buster Sword. Baldin Thurdus, yes, that was the name of the Dwarven Knight. This is a character I played. After the release of the game, I in one of the updates I put him in there because this is my character, right? Basically, he was a thief. He was an expert thief, high and mighty elf, expert thief, with the sniper feat. This is Merwick slaying a giant. You know, Tears of Power. Some of I know his name too. He's another character played in the alpha stage. This halfling. Kenny. Have had some children characters, but the majority are NPC played, not PC. Kid get agitated, and his hair starts to move like tentacles, and you hear people screaming. Yeah, you could play. There's 3 ages of heroism in SMTT. Again, mind you. Oh, these are characters that were played too. They actually fought Hellblaze. Anyway, mind you. This is based off of my love of cartoons and comics and stuff like that. So children, like, I made it so that a child is a completely viable hero to play in Saturday morning tabletop. Brian has played a couple of children heroes, right? So, Age of Heroes. Language barriers that erase. Sub-races. Age of Heroes, right? There's 5 age categories, but only 3 of them are ages of heroism. Ages for which you can play a hero. You can't be a baby hero, but you could be a child hero, right? So children aren't very strong, but they are young and irrepressible. Reduce your size category by 1 and adjust your awesome power accordingly. Your max Haggard levels equal twice your heroic tier instead of your heroic tier. So children can be knocked down twice as much and still get back in the fight. Because, you know, children get hurt all the time. And they just get back up and keep playing. Right? Your games tend to be very serious unless it's pre-game. Decided it's a funny game. Goblins are running amok, burning down taverns with their new invention, Zippos, because the bartender won't serve them drinks. Yeah, that goes to here in SMTT, the rating system. There's 3 ways to play: totally silly and narrative, kinda silly and mid-ground, and hardcore. Hardcore is RPMA. I haven't had the luxury of running too many RPMA games because they tend to be really hard and really serious. And death is part of, death, blood, gore, viscera. It's part of RPMA, right? Like, as some examples, an RPMA rating would be attributed to things like Aeon Flux, Vampire Hunter D, Akira, Devilman, the heavy metal cartoon. Whereas RP13 would be Voltron, the Bionic Six, Darkwing Duck, Fairy Tail, the anime Fairy Tail, and RPG would be like Looney Tunes, Wacky Races, Captain Caveman. Very, very cartoony, very, very lighthearted, where conflict really isn't all about chopping somebody's head off. Those are the 3 rating systems. And you mentioned goblins. I ran a campaign in the beta test to test the progression, the level progression, and the way experience works. And in that beta campaign, they did the major issue that wasn't caused by the players was goblins. They were wolf riding goblins. And they were trying to beat the town into submission. And the players were supposed to stop them. Oh, you think you're a bit young? How old are you? Oh, well, if you don't mind me asking, Milky Pog. Okay. RP13. Not in the way that they're too mature for my young self. Yeah, before your time. Alright. Well, Darkwing Duck is kind of old now. Like, despite my appearance and demeanor, I'm actually pretty old. Been around for a while. So you should know Darkwing Duck, though, right? Darkwing Duck, Tailspin. Dragon Ball Z has been around forever. It won't die. Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT. Yeah. is more RP13. Right? What is a hardcore recent cartoon? Ninja Turtles, Captain Planet. Ninja Turtles would be RP13. Captain Planet and Sailor Moon would be more of RPG. You've got to get into anime now to have cartoons that are rated RPMA. But comic books, okay? You got to go into the independents to really get good stories. You got to watch Darkwing Duck. Anyway, what's something? Okay, Steven Universe. You know Steven Universe? Steven Universe is like an RP13 game. An RP13 game that has a peppering of RPMA emotional development. Right? It's not gory. Right? But if you were to make, the ability that humans die because of the combats that happen in Steven Universe, like they have, collateral damage, more than just the terrain gets destroyed, people get destroyed, that'd be more towards RPMA, completely and utterly vicious and merciless enemies would be more towards RPMA. But in the way that Adventure Time and Steven Universe are written and presented to the viewer, they would be more like an RP-13 game. It really depends on what's happening in the game. Yeah. You know, I try to run RP-13, but I run them closer to RPMA most times because I like to, I really in-depth worlds, a lot of layering, context. RPMA isn't just about sex and violence. You know, it's not just about cutting somebody's head off and watching their blood pour out and being rained on by the blood of your enemies. It's more than just that. You know, mature themes is just what gets your mind intellectually involved to a deeper level. Like the evildoer, the villain, right? The villain, known as, let's say, the Black Widow, goes about capturing, torturing, and murdering men, right? And kidnapping boys, young boys, or male children, and then making them grow up. Like teaching them to either be gay or be dead, right? Like that's what she's doing. That's her villain spiel, okay? But the reason behind it is that as a child, she was abused and raped by the men in her family growing up. So she grew up to become this vengeful evildoer with a vendetta against all men, right? That's a mature storyline. So that would be an RPMA. And that has more to do with the emotions involved rather than the guts and the gore, right? So that's more of an example of RPMA. RPG is like the Turkey Day game I ran, wherein there was a were-turkey barbarian chieftain who wanted to, assert the dominance of the turkey species so that they no longer are hunted and used as, Thanksgiving dinners. That's an RPG game. That was fun. That's actually on my YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, Infinite Roleplay, search for the Turkey Day game, you can watch the craziness that was. And run through a carnival of devil's games. Those who survive are never the same. That would be either the upper echelon of RP-13 skirting RPMA, and depending on how dark those games are emotionally, would be RPMA, and how vicious the person who's doing that to the children are as well. Strange stuff like Children of the Corn. Yeah. I've got Insanity. Alright, hold on a second. Some of the, I gotta show you this is one of the continents. I've got several continents that I'm working on. Himmelster is something that Brian is actually working on, which is going to be amazing when we're done with that. But it's this is the character sheets. Okay, so this character sheet is only available when you purchase the core game, but it's completely fillable. It's completely fillable. Your character name, your class, your level, your race, your maximum hit points, your current hit points, your beat up threshold, the recoveries you have, the amount of HP per recovery. As you gain levels of exhaustion, you tick these off. And Insanity is in the game. So, Insanity, you get nervous twitching, and you start ticking Insanity levels off as you gain them as well. Pretty much everything you need to run your characters is part of the fillable character sheet, as well as some quick reference to conditions, so that if you gain a condition, you don't have to search through the book. It's on your character sheet, as well as awesome power for unarmed strike damage, slam damage, you're doing body slams and whatnot, and improvised weapon damage. And then you can enter in whatever additional information you want right here. And this is a reference to ganging up. Gang up is an action in SMTT where the players can actually jump the bad guys if the bad guy is too powerful. Milky Park, I feel like SMTT would be pretty nice for a zombie horde survival game. It could be, definitely. You know, in the game, the idea is that undead are hard to kill, right? Let's no, this is the character sheet. Let me go to the core rule book, right? The core rule book is laid out in much more detail than the beginner game. Again, the beginner game is only a sampling, and it's one of the first samplings that I've made. Since releasing the beginner game, I've also included hyperlinks within the PDF of the core rules. So, you know, if you go back to the ages, right? There's a reference to Haggard. If you have any question about what Haggard is, you just click it, and it drops you down to the rules for Haggard. You know? Like I heard earlier on, you were saying that one of your players killed like 50 guys in one turn. Yes. You could throw enormous amounts. Enormous. In one game, Josh, Lord Dark, actually had, what was it, 160? Threw 160 low-level minions at us. And we survived, we moved on, we killed a bunch of them. You know, so let me close the character creation bits, right? And go to the Evildoer Toolkit, which is included in the core game and only in the core game, not in the beginner game. But just to give you a look at the Evildoer Toolkit, this is what you use to create bad guys. You can create just about any bad guy you want. I do have some Evildoer spotlights with bad guys that have histories and stories and minions and the like, but just so that you don't need to wait for the bestiary stuff to come out, you can create what you need right here, right now. All right? So there's 3 tables. There's the weak evildoers, who are usually small to medium, strong evildoers, which are usually medium to large, and powerful evildoers, which are usually large to huge. Now, the size category is completely up to you. You can change it. Doesn't really matter. It's a flavor thing, right? And the idea is if you go down to the evildoer traits, minion is a trait. So you can make any evildoer into a minion. It's alphabetical, and I'm losing my ability to see letters. All right, so minion. Regardless of this evildoer's level, it becomes a minion and may be defeated with a defeat minions action. Also, minions have 1 hit point. So it only takes a minion getting damaged by an attack to be dropped. Alright? Now, the minion trait makes any evildoer into a minion. However, if you look at the tiers of villainy, there's also heroic tiers for players. Just to show you right here on the character sheet, heroic tier number 1 is unknown hero. That's levels 1 to 3. Known hero, tier 2, is levels 4 to 5, and so on and so forth until you get to the 5th tier, which is the epic tier. Okay? Any evildoer that is a lower tier than you counts as a minion. And you can defeat them with the defeat minions action, which allows you to defeat a number of minions equal to your awesome power multiplied by your heroic tier. So you can defeat, 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them in a single go, or you can just lay down some area of effect damage. Which again, minions have 1 hit point. They take any damage, it's over for them. So maybe zombies don't level up with the PCs, but the higher level PCs means more time has passed. Yeah, infection is spread. So like a zombie boss, right? At level, let's say you make, it's a weak zombie, right? But every zombie is a goon, level 4. Has AC 14 and 11 hit points, okay? They all have the hard to kill feature because they're undead. All right, I'll show you what hard to kill is in a minute. So they're all level 4. They have +3 to their attack. They deal 10 damage, AC 14, 11 hit points. So a low level character might be able to drop a zombie, but it's gonna be a task. A level 1 character might drop a zombie with a hit if he rolls high enough on, let's say, a longsword attack. But if you give the zombie the hard to kill trait, right, which is right here, red, hard to kill. A hard to kill minion is immune to the defeat minion's action. So if you have a dozen zombies, when he becomes a minion, you still need to actually attack him to take him out and damage him to take him out. A non-minion evildoer brought to 0 HP may roll a DC 20 Constitution save to be brought to 1 hit point instead. So going back to that zombie idea, this goon, this 4th level zombie, if he does get hit, right, and your 16 strength orc, your orc warrior, 16 strength, hits him with his longsword and rolls an 8 on that longsword, that's 11 damage. Boom, your zombie's down. He's done. However, because he's hard to kill, you get to roll a d20 and then you add 2. So if you roll an 18 or 19, your zombie's not dead. He's brought down to 1 hit point instead. And as your players level up, once your player characters get to level 6, they become famous heroes. They become tier 3 heroes, which now means that same zombie is now a minion to them. It's still hard to kill, so it's immune to the defeat minion's action, but it's not immune to life is for the living, which is a special thing that knights and priests can do, which is their version of a defeat minion's action for killing undead and sorrow enemies. Which, I mean, this is a lot to take in an instant, because, you know, I've got a lot of neat rules to expedite stuff. But suffice to say, you can definitely do a zombie horde. Because of real life constraints, I was forced to pause my campaign. Season 2 of my campaign of Hero School. Brian was playing in it. Beat Martial Arts was in it. Lord Dark was in it. And season 2 is called Nevermore, which is a zombie apocalypse. So yeah, you can definitely do a zombie apocalypse. Man, am I getting distracted? I'm supposed to be developing rules. Developing these rules. So yeah, the creation toolkit, the traits are slightly changed to accommodate hirelings and followers now. I think that's it. And they also have three tables which are representative of their core power. So weak hirelings, the basic hirelings, and powerful hirelings. It's how you generate your NPC allies to your players. Anyway, any other questions about these beta rules or my the core rules for SMTT? Again, feel free to ask. If you give me a minute, I'm going to get up and get some water. Though I probably should have some breakfast soon, because it's almost lunchtime. But until then, I'll be right back. Whatever questions you have, post them in chat, and I'll be sure to answer them. I'm just going to mute my camera. Baka! No, that's the wrong thing. That's the wrong thing. That's the right thing. Alright, I'll be right back. I have returned with some liquid water and some solid water inside of it. Water with ice in it, that's all it means. So, I don't know, you want to just turn this into like a free chat? I'll answer whatever questions you have. Keep in mind, anything that you see that's a text document, it's beta to alpha. It's not currently in the officially released product yet. In the 1.05 update, a lot of it will be included. Not all of it. Some of it will be on the 1.06 update. Because the next few updates are going to be pretty big. And allow for a lot of stuff. But yeah, you guys want to make a zombie? Use the Evildoer Creation Toolkit and we'll make some zombies. Let's load up Swarm. Because this is another way you can do zombies. Is with the Swarm template. However, that was something released after the fact. Where's the rat collector? Ah. The Swarm template was released in the Evildoer Spotlight for the rat collector. I put the spotlights on pause because the next few updates are really, really big. And I've been working on a lot of other things as well as having a lot of stuff to do in life. That makes it kind of hard to do everything that I want to do. You know, doing what you need to do makes it sort of difficult to do what you want to do at times. But that's adult life, so. This is the Rat Collector. This is one of the Evildoer spotlights. I have 5 of them out? No, I have 5 of them out right now. No, that's the core stuff, PDFs. 5. I have 5 of them out now. The 6th one is almost 100% finished. But I stopped working on that one to work on the next few updates. Ooh, Shepard. Shepard says, I was thinking about wanting to play as a conjurer, but is that even possible in D&D? I know wizards can do it way later down the road, but their Find Familiar spell early on is weak as hell. In D&D, yes. In SMTT, no. You can play. The rules will be tweaked in the next update. Yeah, like previous 3.0 was a little bit more open to that. You could summon a lot of creatures earlier on, but the thing about it was that it got to be kind of clunky and harder to keep track of. I think Pathfinder did a summoner better. That means to have a class called Summoner, which is completely dedicated around summoning. But again, Pathfinder got to the point where power creep became too much of a thing, right? Like the bad guys became really too easy, and it was more of just, you need time. All you need is enough time. You'll beat everything coming at you. Or you were fighting gods, you know. The whole idea of this stuff that I'm working on for SMTT, the Lawman Marshal, the Hireling and Follower rules, the Pet and Companion rules, is to have that leaderly thing. So you could lead a bunch of creatures, you know, people, yetis, ogres, If you want to lead undead, fine, you lead undead into combat, and to do so where it's not as clunky, you know, where it's a little bit easier to handle. I know I have Dungeons and Dragons as the community here because it's the only community on Twitch that best describes what I'm doing. There's no blanket RPG tag in Twitch. That and the fact that Saturday Morning Tabletop is based off of 5e D&D rules. That's where its home was. It began as a modification to 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, you can be quite a summoner. Like, let's go to the rules already available in the game. Character, Evildoers, Spotlight, no, RPG Core. Close gear, open character creation. A good summoner would be either a wizard or a sorcerer. What is SMTT game? Yeah, SMTT is a system that I developed. I built the system myself with the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition OGL as the starting point. Yeah. There were things that I didn't like about 5th edition, and those things I changed. So I did that, and I cranked up the power a couple of knobs. So like in SMTT, Saturday Morning Tabletop, the RPG, for instance, not summoner, but the lawman has an archetype called the ranger, and the ranger gets a pet. And what your pet can do is dependent upon something called maneuvers. All right. Rangers are one of the most complex classes in SMTT to play. They share the level of complexity as a spellcaster. You know, they don't require as much bookkeeping as a spellcaster, but they do require a bit of a forethought and reaction. So Kenny says, I'm rehauling D20 for reasons, and it's not because what I think is out there is good. Wait, what? I'm rehauling D20 because reasons. No, for reasons. And it's not because what I think is out there is good. Are you retooling D20 because you think what's out there is bad? Or it's not because you think what's out there is bad, it's just that you want your own version? Oh, not being able to have a summoner conjurer on par with other classes is not good. Okay, yeah. Well, I was getting about that. I was going to give a peek into the sorcerer, even though I'm in ranger, but just for instance, you know, this is Nixlax and her wolf Smogda. All right, the companion rules is the next update would flesh out your ranger's companion to an immense degree, where you can create thousands and thousands of different types of companions, none of which is inherently weaker than the other. It's just all about flavor and text and the different types of abilities that they can use. Alright, so a ranger with their companion, alright, rangers have maneuver points that they get every round, and they can command their companion to do amazing things with their maneuver points. Alright, there's some basic things like fetch, attack, but call companion, for instance, is if your companion is not by your side, you call them, and within reason, within narrative reason, your companion comes to your aid, wherever it's at. you know, within narrative reason. So if you're on a ship, right, middle of the sea, and you forgot to bring your companion with you, right? Let's say your companion is a huge what did he make? He made a huge hedgehog ankylosaurus, right? Oh, okay, Shepherb. Now, does that render the ranger itself as weaker as the others because of the trade-off for the badass pet? No. No, actually, in SMTT, the way the ranger is built is the ranger is good. Okay? The ranger has a pet that can, you know, add to its abilities, which makes it a little bit better. It's on par with the rest of the classes, but the more you invest in your pet, the better your pet is over just you alone. But you're never useless. Like the ranger, without their pet, without their companion, even if they invested every feat that they have to getting a better companion, doesn't trade off so much that they're useless alone. You know, rangers, let's say your ranger has a bow and arrow, right? There are some maneuvers that every lawman gets, right? So, quarry, for instance, all right? Your quarry will not escape unscathed. Whenever an evildoer moves, you may, as a reaction, make a melee or ranged attack on that evildoer. So, if a bad guy decides to move towards you or away from you, you can shoot him with your bow, right? Some of the maneuvers a ranger gets that is not dependent upon their companion is Heartstopper, Twin Shot, and Hail of Arrows. Hail of Arrows is an AoE that you do with your bow. You just shoot a bunch of arrows and they all attack an area of effect. Heartstopper, alright, until the beginning of your next turn, whenever you deal damage with a bow, with a bow and that damage exceeds the target's constitution score, reduce the target to 0 hit points. This has no effect on undead, constructs, or any other enemy without a constitution score. Alright? So basically, regardless of hit points, boom, you just drop an enemy if your damage exceeds their constitution score, right? So, I mean, that's a cool one. Twin Shot, okay? It costs 4, right? Each ranged attack with a bow fires 2 arrows instead of 1 until the beginning of your next turn. A target hit with Twin Shot is hit twice, and you roll damage as if you hit with 2 separate attacks. Okay? Which is very good, because another thing that every lawman gets, not just rangers, all right, is bringing down the big ones. Where is it? Sitting Duck. Bringing down the big ones. Whenever you or your companion deal damage, damage a creature that is less than maximum hit points, you deal an additional d4 damage. The damage increases to d6 at tier 2, d8 at tier 3, and d10 at tier 4, and d12 at tier 5. So if you hit him with 2 attacks, you deal that twice. It's whenever you damage an opponent that's less than max hit points. You know? Yeah. Hail of Arrows could be pretty sick. You know? Especially because bringing down the big ones, like if your arrow does, if you're level 6, for instance, right? That's a tier 3 hero. Okay? You deal an additional d8 to wounded enemies. Let's say you do Hail of Arrows and you attack twice. The first Hail of Arrows is an AoE. It damages everyone for half on a successful save. And then you hit him with another Hail of Arrows. The first Hail of Arrows only deals d8 damage because your bow does deal d8 damage. The second Hail of Arrows does d8 damage because your bow, your longbow, would deal d8. However, it does an additional d8 because they all took damage. They're less than full health. You know? So the Ranger is still a badass character. But they have a pretty badass pet. The difference is that if you invest in your pet in becoming more of a badass pet, you sacrifice taking things like the sniper feat, you know? You sacrifice on taking certain bonds, like the Raven bond, which makes you a hunter of the undead. You know, you sacrifice on, what else? Magic Dabbler, if you wanted to get low, gain a little bit of low level spell casting. You know, there's things that would make your individual character even cooler that you would have to skip to make your pet even cooler. But it doesn't detract from your effectiveness. You're not sacrificing, you're not becoming a useless character to have a great pet. You're still a good character with a great pet. You know what I'm saying? It's important that remains that way, to me anyway. And that's just the ranger. Let's see, Kenny, resource of time and money and potential losses there for probably more power than average ranger when you have that the way you type that sounds confusing. Let me read the other one. Two level 1 rangers fight. One has trained a kennel of guard dogs. Okay, dogs, get them. The ranger has one companion. One. So they don't have a kennel of guard dogs. They have one companion. Alright. If you want more than one person to lead, you have to be a marshal. And the rules for the marshal are still in development. So they're not part of the core game as of yet. Shep Herb. Well, I am partial to having a pet, and a combat one would be awesome. I played a bard in a game where I had a pet squirrel named Treefer. Purely for RP reasons, I said he would pop up on my shoulder, perform. Alright, cool. You can do that as a performer in this game. And actually have your pet be a little bit more effective than just RP. Kenny, my ranger trains animals. The system is similar to 3.5. Alright. Shep Herb. So your ranger class sounds really interesting to me. Wish I could play it. I mean, if you do I have the ranger in the beginner game? I don't think I have the ranger in the beginner game. But if you want to give Saturday Morning Tabletop a try, you can get the beginner game for free. It's under pay what you want. You can give it a try to see if you or your friends, your gaming group, enjoy the rule system. If they do enjoy the rules system, you can purchase the full game, the core book. And when you purchase the core book, you get what you're looking at on screen. The ranger, the sorcerer, all their subclasses, the next few updates, which will add a lot more customization. Right now, the ranger's pet, the ranger's companion, is a wolf known as an Amarok. In the next update, which will be implemented as a digital download, it's not going to be any of that errata crap. It's going to be a full update for the entire book. You'll have the ability to completely customize your companion. You could play a wolf. You could play a lesser dragon. You could have a griffin companion with wings. You could have a 7-legged basilisk. 8-legged basilisk with a petrifying gaze. A lot more customization will be available. Kenny, I had a wizard with a squirrel familiar that was delivering touch attacks. Let's say it has plus 20 stealth, plus 22 hit. It'll deliver a shocking grasp for you easy. Only scary part was getting back out alive. Shep Herb. So in a nutshell, what you would say are some of the biggest rules changes to the base game of SMTT compared. What would I say? All right. Awesome power, for one. Awesome power is the biggest rules change from 5th edition. Okay. Awesome power represents that intangible of truly heroic, powerful, comic book and cartoon characters. It's more than just their strength. It's more than just their intelligence. It's how awesome they really are, right? So there are a lot of things that are based off of awesome power. Okay. The next biggest change is tiers of play. Okay. Let me just bring it up on screen. The tiers of play. There are 5 separate tiers of play. All right. There's 6 for bad guys because, a whelp is like what a level 1 would beat on. A level 1 needs to have minions to slay. That's what a whelp is. So there's 6 tiers of bad guy, but there's 5 tiers of play for the players. They're known as the heroic tiers of heroism, right? Non-heroic people are tier 0, but the player starts at level 1 to level 3. They're the unknown hero. There are also several things that are based on the tiers of play. Whether or not an evildoer is a problem for you, or nothing more than a minion, all depends on whether or not you, as a character, are a higher tier than them as an evildoer. If you are, then that evildoer to you is a minion, and you can defeat him and a handful of other minions as part of a defeat minions action. It's like in DBZ, Dragon Ball Z, right? When they go train, they go in the hyperbolic chamber. When the first time they fought Frieza, oh man, like it was a fight that resulted in the destruction of a planet. Okay? But when Frieza's bigger, stronger brother Cooler came, he was defeated in a single hit. All right? So in SMTT terms, Frieza was like a level 10 bad guy, right? He was a tier 3 bad guy, level 10, very difficult. Cooler was like a level 11. He was the higher version, right? No, rewind. Sorry. Cooler was a level 10. Frieza was a level 8. But there's still both tier 3 enemies. When you first fought Frieza, you're like level 6, level 7, level 8. It's a fight. It's a grind. It's a battle. But eventually, by the time Cooler shows up, you guys are like tier 4, 11, 12th level. So Cooler has 1 hit point to defeat. You just gotta hit him and he's gone. Because you guys have ranked up so much higher than him. So the first biggest thing is awesome power. The next biggest thing are the tiers of play. There are tons of mechanics that are all tied to those 2 things. Magic is based off of the tiers of play. Magic levels, there's 5 levels of magic that level up in tandem with the tiers of play. Okay, so those 2 things are the biggest changes. The ability to defeat minions is a combination of your awesome power and your tier of play. Grappling, unarmed damage, what weapons you can wield, what kind of armor you can wield. They're a sliding scale now because of awesome power. B Martial Arts played Grimrock, who was a Yeti, whose awesome power was so high that he was able to wear full plate armor and treat it as light armor. Because he was just too, his awesome power was so high, he was able to wield a hammer in a single hand that most wouldn't be able to pick up at all because of his awesome power. They are huge changes, like huge fundamental changes. If you go to here to the character sheet, awesome power, unarmed damage, it's based off of awesome power. Okay, you have wrestling moves that treat your awesome power higher or lower. They are massive changes to the rules, but they help to create a sliding scale, a bit of customization and simplicity when it's actually time to play. Shep Herb, how do you limit that power to make it not game breaking? Like, I play with some power player type guys who look for ways to attain that badass power in regular 5th edition. And if it was given to them, the DM better watch out. One, I've tested this with power gamers. I am a power gamer. Okay, I know how to break certain systems and find where their weak points are. So there are combos that feel game breaking in this game, but they actually exist as part of the design. So they're actually balanced, but they feel like they're game breaking. You feel, as a player, you feel like you have so much power at your fingertips, but it's part of the balance of the game. So if you go to the Evildoer Creation toolkit, evildoers are mean, right? But before we go there, the way experience is handled. Encounters, there is no encounter balance. You throw at your players whatever you feel the story requires. There's no, okay, well, you know, we have 5 6th level players, which means their encounter level is Y, and these things would be an encounter level of Z. That's a little bit too hard. That's a powerful encounter. We will not be throwing that because we can. No, none of that. Forget that. In SMTT, you throw what you want at your players. Whatever you feel the best story that you can have, the best scenes, the best action would be, that's what you throw at your players. You know, and they don't have to feel like they need to kill every single thing. They need to beat every single thing, because you don't get experience for each individual thing. You get experience for the entire encounter, right? And even if you fail, up until 15th level, you still get a little bit of experience, even when you fail. So your players don't have to feel like, we need to decimate everything. And if they are the type of players like they feel like they need to decimate everything, the last game I played in, all right, as a player, the GM used my Evildoer Creation kit to throw against us a creature that did 180 damage every hit. Every hit was enough to drop us. We came out alive, but it was a fight. And it's a great fight, because in SMTT, heroes never die. They can be dropped to 0 hit points repeatedly and keep getting back in the fight. There is a balance, there is a limit to that. It's called Haggard levels. You know, you only have 1 Haggard level for each tier that your hero is. But, there's some crazy fights. Kenny, if players think everything I throw at them is meant to be faced in terms of a fight, they're going to die. Yeah, this is not my dark RPG. I have some dark RPG settings in here, but this is not the dark RPG. The dark RPG rule set that I'm working on is called Kirillith, and that one is nightmarish. It is the complete opposite of SMTT. But SMTT, this is D&D cranked up to 11 squared, right? It's, I think it was you that mentioned, like, you know, DBZ in the fantasy realm. Yeah, you could definitely do that. DBZ, Fairy Tail, if you know the Fairy Tail anime. Lord Dark is running a Fairy Tail anime themed version of SMTT, where it exists in the world of Gemini, but they have the Fairy Tail guilds. Or the Fairy Tail like guilds. Fairy Tail is actually the name of one of the guilds. So yeah, Shep Herb, yeah. Me and my buddies are some murder hobos. Don't get me wrong. We like to think and push the boundaries of systems of the game, but at the end of the day, the DM just puts stuff in front of us. We just don't know when to run, because we're like, fuck you, charge! Yeah. Yeah, I've had players do that and get wrecked, but they've gone alive. Kenny, after dying a few times, players start thinking more about the You would think that. You would think that. I ran a game, not SMTT, but I ran a game that was a deadly game, and basically got the players to murder one of the other player characters. Just murder them. They murdered it. They murdered an NPC, and no, the player character was dominated. Okay, that player character murdered an NPC and messed up the other player characters. Then they tied him up. They failed their tying roll because they couldn't tie a good knot. And the one that was dominated was a thief, so he's good at being an escape artist. And the second time they subdued him, they decided to just murder him, slit his throat, coup de grace. They never actually did any damage, which would have called for a save, you know. But that's an entirely different thing. I run some really difficult game. If you want to run a difficult game, if you want to run a very adult game, and you got a couple of players that are interested, I'll run a RPMA version of Saturday Morning Tabletop. And it won't, even with, Heroes Never Die, even with awesome power, it is not going to be an easy game. My beta test campaign was voted. I let the testers vote on whether or not it was going to be RP13 or RPMA. They voted on MA, and it took them 8 levels, from level 1 to level 8, to stop one of the bad guys. And, they were getting beat, and just, the situation was collapsing around them constantly. Because there were a lot of advanced social dynamics in play. And the smartest player was playing the dumbest character. The smartest player had an intelligence of 6 on his character. And still showed more common sense. Man. Yeah, going kamikaze is if you have players and you're even worried about that, one, throw minions at them. You let them feel that power gamey power of awesome by letting them kill minions. Minions, they die in a hit. You hit a minion, they're done for. Okay? You could take the defeat minions action and defeat a bunch of them. If they're tough, hard to kill minions, they have to be damaged. 1 point of damage, right? Then, after you set them up and you finally let them get to the big bad evildoer, right? That's when you break out the toolkit. Here's the toolkit. Weak enemies are weak. These are more along the lines of D&D, right? But they scale a little slower. Okay, and they only go up to level 12. Because you should be able to completely custom design anything that's higher than that, because that's really crazy power. But anyway, then there's the strong evildoers. Table 2. At level 12, one of them has 342 hit points, an AC of 23. They deal 42 damage a hit before you customize, before you up that, And then there's the powerful one. Okay? A level 12 powerful evildoer can do 180 points in their attack or in their round. 180 points of damage. That's more than enough to drop most characters in a single round. If you're worried about the murder hobo power gamer, throw one of these at them. That'll scare them. In running games, even though heroes never die, and they can be dropped to 0 and get back up and drop to 0, dealing enough damage I find it gets into the gamer's mind. Like he goes, people take a step back sometimes, and they get afraid when they actually have a robust character. It's just being so close to zero, being dropped to zero so easily, that plays mind games on a lot of people, and it keeps that intensity while removing a little bit of the consequence. But yeah, if you're worried about murder hobos, throw powerful bad guys at them. Just there's a powerful bad guy. You know, throw a killer cube at them. Killer cube. Oh, I gotta release those rules. Jeez. Anyway, killer cube is a jelly that if it hits you, you roll a save, and if you fail, it sucks you inside of its body, paralyzes you, and then just digests you while it fights your allies. You're paralyzed. Your allies have to reach in and pull you out. In doing so, they take melty acid damage. You know? Shep Herb, we can just be considered testers too. Kenny, another was in the middle of it, the middle of the act. The husband had come home, took the time to equip all of the PC's gear, and he had fighter levels and just mutilated PC after running after. Oh man. Shep Herb, but I forewarn you, we are kind of a difficult group, not because we dick around and do stupid stuff often, but because, again, we have too much time on our hands and we tend to have too many questions or arguments for our reasoning. Huh? I don't know. I've been GMing for difficult groups as well. People who might feel entitled to certain things when there's no reason for it. But yeah, Kenny, murder hobo baited into an alley by urchin, always out, covered, swarmed by street urchins till player dies. Yeah, you could do that too. You could use the swarm template as a group template. The size of the swarm depends on the size of the actual character when the swarm gets destroyed. But swarms in SMTT are no joke. You know, they can hurt a lot. Shep Herb, but again, that might help you flush some stuff out if we pick up on something interesting. Trust me, I've had a mage at level 6 do like 300 damage, and that's fine. Kenny, I tell them crocodile is at the edge of the water. PC thinks it's funny to jump on its head. It's immediately pull a death roll and he dies. Yeah, I mean, come on. It's not really space cowing in my stuff. They think they'll get away with murder, but I only allow it if they're playing smart. Yeah. Exactly. You know, you're playing a more dark fantasy, closer to a dark fantasy game. Closer to the kind of game I came up on, actually. Shep Herb. So say, for instance, one person interprets one thing and another person sees it a different way. If that said thing is not an official rule or written, it would fall to the DM to make the call. We seem to run into that scenario often. Oh, dude. I mean, Brian, you want to tell them the extents I've gone to prevent that? Like, nothing is idiot proof. Nothing. But I've come close. So I don't know, like war paint, very powerful, right? Barbarian. So at 6th level, Barbarian unlocks the wonders of Warpaint. From this point on, whenever the Barbarian rages, they will now reduce the damage of the first weapon attack they are hit with to 0 as a free action. Warpaint example. Sahav Rong is in a furious rage, battling against 2 trolls. Both of the trolls hit Sahav. The first troll deals 0 damage because of Sahav Rong's Warpaint. But Sahav has no choice but to take the 13 damage that the second troll attack deals. As barbarians increase in level, they become more resilient. At 10th level, the first time they are damaged, whether by weapon, spell, or any other means, they reduce the damage to 0. At 14th level, they benefit from their Warpaint, even when they're not in a rage. The barbarian may only benefit from Warpaint during a combat encounter, and only once per round. That's a pretty powerful thing. But I think I have it worded so that there's no fights. You know, and that's kind of how I've done the entire book. They're not in 5th edition, but they are for my game. Because like I said, I've put a lot of work and blood and tears into this. Right? Kenny, okay. So can I start combat with a squirrel during a storm and have the weather do 0 damage? I'm not worried about the squirrel damage. I'll take that. Are you sure, Kenny? Are you sure? Because in Saturday Morning Tabletop, the world of Gemini, which is the setting world for Saturday Morning Tabletop, there is a region known as the Squirrel Wood, where there's a legion of squirrels that are a deadly threat. And as a matter of fact, the players fought these squirrels in the Thunderbird game, and one of them was a squirrel necromancer that was fucking them up. It was messing them up with an umbral blade, a death blade made from pure, dark death magic. So are you sure you would like to take the damage of the squirrel? Yep. You might want to take the damage from the storm instead. But yeah, let's say you're in a fight with a squirrel, and for some reason, the sky opens up, and it's storming and raining, right? And a bolt of lightning decides to strike you, all right? At 10th level, you can resist the bolt of lightning, because it's damage from any source, right? The first time you're damaged by a weapon, a spell, or any other means, you reduce the damage to 0. So if you get hit with the lightning bolt first, you absorb it, you reduce it to nothing, and then you get beat up by everything else, right? But if you get hit by the lightning bolt, it's probably because you're fighting a squirrel mage who just used call lightning in the middle of a storm. Kenny, that's just ridiculous circumstance, though. Thought you were going to take the buttermilk biscuit damage. Nah! That's Thor's hammer in the woods of Thor's hammer, which you thought were butterfly biscuits. Terrible. Basically a gag game logic for the lols. Alright. We've had lols. Not just me, but the players in my games as well. Usually, you know, from the Turkey Day game, where there's a were turkey leading turkey barbarians and a turkey. Actually, you know what? I've got that bad guy. I'll give you a look at the bad guy really quick. A little sneak peek. This is the were turkey from the Turkey Day game. Let me zoom out so you can see it. Evildoer spotlight of Chief runs this joint. So Chief runs this joint and his legion of jive turkeys. What was that? Shep Herb. Where can you go to buy the base? All right. Give me a second. This is a link to the base game. The beginner game it's been out since version 1 has been out. Since before version 1 was out. It's a small sampling of the game, right? The full game, the one on screen, well, not this, this one, this is the full game, the core rules. There's been a few updates, a few digital updates, and I'll give you the link to that one. That has everything. That has every class, every race, every feat, every spell, and it benefits from something implemented after the release of the beginning game, which is hyperlinks. The spells and the spell and the gear section are all hyperlinked in the core rules, not the beginner rules. So if I just go to gear, for instance, go to gear tables, mundane weapon tables, right? So like the Peacemaker, right? So this is simple melee weapon table. Daggers. This is what a dagger does. This is a Feyblade Minor, a Peacemaker, a Sparkling Eye. Like, what in the hell is a Sparkling Eye, right? It's 40 gold, does D-Force piercing and force damage. It's 0-1. The rules for what this means is at the beginning of the section. It's finessable, it's thrown, range, and special rules. So are you going to search for the Sparkling Eye, or are you just going to click the name, Sparkling Eye, be brought to its description? It's a crystal weapon, adds force damage to the type of damage the base weapon normally deals, increases the wielder's mana well by 5. If the wielder does not have a mana well, they gain a mana well of 5. The crystal weapon recharges its mana upon a short or long rest, and you may spend 5 mana to change one hit into a critical hit. So, there it is, hyperlink. You just jump right to it. If you go to the magic section, spells, here are the spell schools. Bartleby's, School of Arcane Shaping, the Disciple of Skadi, the Icol's Mirror, Radiant Servant, right? Associated damage types, and then here are all the spells. You want to know what they do? You click on the spell name. Spiritual Guardians drops you off to Spiritual Guardians. It's a Radiant Servant, level 3, range self, 15-foot radius, casting time and action, duration, blah 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 blah. It's hyperlinked. It's everything is bookmarked. And the gear and magic sections are hyperlinked, with a few extra hyperlinks sprinkled within. This way, everything is easily referenceable. Everything. And to top it off, the core rules also comes with the fillable PDF character sheet. So there's references on the character sheet, as well as the ability to track your current hit points, your current recoveries in the middle of the game, your current levels of exhaustion. Boom, you click it. That's how you keep track of your levels of exhaustion, how many you have. Click them again, you lose them. Levels of insanity, what tier you are, like if you're level 4, you're tier 2, how much haggard levels, your armor, everything, dude, everything. References to conditions. That's what you get when you get the core rules. And in addition, I keep releasing updates. I've got 2 major updates that I'm working on for SMTT, which is, the first is the update version 1.05. That's what I was working on at the beginning of this stream, which is the companion rules and the follower rules, and the toolkits for creating them. All right, as well as the lawman archetype, which will be the marshal, released in version 1.05. 1.06, 1.06, 07, and 08 will all be the gear creation, so that you could customize any special type of weapon you want. I have the alpha rules for the weapon creation kit written up, but it's only in alpha development. Those will not be separate purchases. Those will be implemented in the core rule book as a digital update. It only requires one purchase and the ability to re-download the latest version. And my music is gone. I need more music. Before I search for more music, Kenny, Sparkling Eye makes me think it would have been a monocle that made you to ray attack from your eye, or give you dark vision, low light vision, etc. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be like that weapon. Um, it's just what I decided to name it. But when I do eventually release the gear creation toolkit, there will be a section that is more suited to players for designing their weapons. And then a section which is for GMs, which circumvents some of the balancing rules to allow the GM to create whatever special item that best suits their campaign, their world, their dungeon, you know? Shep Herb. Now, do all my buddies need to buy it, or can I buy it and share it with them? Being that I'm trying to make this my life, I would appreciate if all your friends buy it. But if you want to buy it and share it with them, so that they can be able to play, yeah, help them with the character creation. Again, if you have any questions, I'll periodically be here on Twitch. I also have a Facebook page. Just type Infinite Roleplay into Facebook. And if you want to see some of the games or some advice or anything, I'm also on YouTube on Infinite Roleplay. YouTube.com/Infinite Roleplay. And you can feel free to shoot me any questions. Anything that you're confused by, let me know and I'll hook it up. You could always get the beginner game for free, completely for free. Distribute copies or backlink people to the beginner game, so they can check it out and have all the pre-generated. I've got in the beginner game, it's fast becoming outdated. When version 1.5 goes live, it will be outdated because version 1.5 is going to be a massive update. 1.05 that is. But the core rules, how you play the game, will remain the same. Defeat minions will remain the same. Awesome power rules will remain the same. All that stuff is not changing. The only thing that I'm changing is giving the Rangers the ability to customize their companions, including the Marshal as a lawman archetype, and giving the GM the ability to customize NPCs that the Marshal can deputize and make followers. As well as all the custom creation rules for mounts, which are the same as the Ranger's Companion. Like, version 1.5 is going to add a degree of customization to NPCs and player allies that the Evildoer Creation Toolkit has, that the players have at their disposal. The ability to simply create thousands of things mechanically, and also notes of inspiration to help you, along with that. Alright. If you're curious... No, I typed that wrong. If you're curious to look at what somebody else thinks, there's a review for SMTT on Cross Planes. It's kind of a short-ish review for what SMTT offers. If you want, you can check it out there. It's this right here, Cross Planes. And one thing that makes me feel happy and accomplished and great is this right here, where he refers to SMTT succeeding. SMTT succeeds as an amazing evolution of D&D 5e. Makes me happy. I just love that sound. Yeah. So again, Shep Herb, you're reading it already. Are you reading the beginner game, or did you actually get the core rules? Just just to let you know, because if you got the beginner game, it's a small sampling of rules for character creation. There's about triple the amount of options in the core rules than there is the beginner game, because I wanted the beginner game to be a little bit digestible. If you did get the core rules, you should still get the beginner game, because there's currently 17 pre-generated characters that you can use, and 2 adventures. And the adventures have fully statted evildoers as well, so that you can just get right into it. Even if you buy the core game, you can still get the beginner game for those resources. And I'm gonna play some more music. I need music in my life. And H2O. Bugging. Eventually, I will be releasing a series of setting books, because the world of Gemini, the SMTT world, is actually so absolutely massive. Doing everything in one book would result in a book that's pretty big, right? Man, I'm so tempted to share a look into the alpha development of my martial artist class, because that's another point of just it's great. Shep Herb. Oh, I meant the review. Oh, I was reading it. I want to make sure my buddies are on board, but then we would need to find a DM, which is the hardest part. As long as I only do overviews, the majority, I can probably fit my setting into one 300-page book. See, that's the problem. I think a single 300-page book is a bit intimidating. Like, it has to be really, really well organized. And while I'm kind of obsessed with making things as easily referenceable as possible, it is a lot of work. And the world of Gemini is an entire world. Like, do I have a picture? Okay. This is the first continent that I want to release. Alright. The major city in the region of Toblos is summarized. It has enough detail to be fleshed out, and leaves enough space for a GM to make it their own. But it's 10 pages. When I'm done with Toblos by itself, I'm hoping to keep it under 20 pages. I'm just not convinced that I can do that, to keep it under 20 pages. Right? And that's one of the smallest regions around. I've got about 21 total regions, I think 21, 22, in this continent. This is the continent of Abaddon. Right? This will be the region map released when I eventually get to releasing the setting books. This is the continent of Abaddon fleshed out a little bit more. This is not the final map, but this is the work in progress map. Right? The only things on here are the major cities. Okay, the major points of contention, and they're not all listed here yet. Vulture Island and the Kingdom of Looking Glass are other settings as well. But if you want to see how much space, Burtonville is a 10-page workup. This area right here is known as the Shadow of Crows. That's a 5-page workup. Haydenville is a nice small sleepy town, but very important to the fiction. That's a 2-page workup. And I haven't put all of the info in the Squirrelwood into a single file yet. But the Squirrelwood, remember, I was mentioning the Legion of Squirrels? This is where they lie. The Frost Garden... Hell, the Frost Garden has one 20-page adventure already written for it. You know, Fiston has another 20-something page adventure written for it as well. So, there's a... I don't want to do a single 300-page book. I think that scares me a bit. And I think it might scare others as well. Oh, these are... Talk about behind the scenes. One of the oldest versions. Yeah. I've been working on this map a long time. But that's not the version of it I want to show. Okay, this is... Oh, no, not that. This. Can I get it full screen already? Jeez. This is the, Kenny. As long as it's in 300 page, yep, I don't have all my small settlements planned either yet. Well, what I plan on doing for the smaller settlements is to create a generator to help GMs. That way there's no concretes. Even though, like, there's a lot of love, blood, sweat, and tears that went into the rule sets, and that's going into the world as well. I really want there to be enough room so that any GM can own this, can make it their own. You know, that they can buy into the setting because there's enough to support them without actually tying their hands. So, you know, there will be generators for each region that help to generate towns, settlements, encampments, encounters, that are specific to the region, and done so in a way that allows for slotting of different columns in the generator table from region to region. You know, as much customization as you can get in as little room as possible is what I'm aiming for. But yeah, this map is half of the concept map for Abidu. Not for Abidu, for Gemini, the world of Gemini. This continent, the continent in color, is the continent of Abidu. And then there's this setting, which is a lone island of Bagrage. And Sharuda and Shurima are the furthest flung areas of the Isles of Virgo, which include, you know, Shaodong, Watanabe, Matsugatu. This is the Asian-inspired area. You know, this is where the martial artist class will be released. I want to do that class so bad. I get excited. Okay. Kenny. Have not been doing any mapping in a very, very long time. I've got the continents and major settlement nation areas and important geographical features. One of the best things about overviews is you always have room for people to just, drop down and plant their own stuff. See, here's the thing. When you're trying to balance, though, overviews with info, I'll give you another little sneak peek into how I do stuff. There's setting info. The continent of Abidu will go into the regions of Toblos to Burtonville. Alright. This is not properly formatted yet, because, again, all alpha development stuff. This is really behind the scenes. However, the area of Burtonville is separated into districts. There's 2 districts. There's Burtonville proper, also known as Newtown, and Burtonville Old Town, known to the older residents as Dalton City. But here's a basic description, right? It starts off with an overview of Burtonville, the history of the districts, and then a basic description of Burtonville proper, followed by places of note, specific locations that are important to Burtonville, without detailing every location, a description of these locations and what goes on, and then eventually the people and creatures of Burtonville, the common peoples and creatures, the most common, the common, and the least common. Anything not on here would just be uncommon or rare. Then you have the named characters of Burtonville proper. important NPCs to the storyline. You know, important and meaningful NPCs. You know, they're listed, and not every detail is given. There is a small bullet point list ending in personality traits. So the NPCs can vary from GM to GM, as long as they just follow the basic outline. Allergies starting to bother me. That's how I do, you know, Burtonville. And then I have a generator somewhere. Somewhere. I don't remember where. Oh. What am I doing to myself? Is it here? Oh, come on. Murder Hobo Island. Where are you? I called it Murder Hobo Island. More. I'm sorry. I missed your typing. Shep Herb. Oh, you need to head out, but I subbed on 2 bookmark links, blah, blah, blah. Alright. Alright, peace out, Shep. If you're still there for me to respond. Sorry, I didn't respond quicker. And Kenny, I have a template that I'll cut out for the important stuff. Alright, easily made. Yeah. My allergies, I took my allergy medication, but it's starting to bug me. It's bleeding through the meds. Yeah, I love mapping, dude. I love creating in all facets. Like, if you check out the last map I did this map on stream. I did it live on here. I was just mapping to pass the time. I needed something to, you know, I've been developing so many rules, you know, so many very specific things that I needed a break to just create freely, and I created this map. When you're just doing stuff in your own time, not stuff I'll be adding, I'll have an H page or so list, import exports, yeah. So, you know, I not really going to fit in the book, but yeah, I have so many things for Saturday Morning Tabletop alone. I've got about a dozen huge settings and even more smaller ones. Saturday Morning Tabletop is just the one that I've actually the rule set for a setting that I've released, and the next stage is to release the setting information, the setting and all their subsettings. But I've worked on quite a few. I'm continuing to work on a few. And I have a couple of comic books happening in some of my RPG settings right now. The comics aren't done. They're not being released yet. But this is a comic I'm working on with B Martial Arts. This is in a superhero setting. I've already ran a game in it. But a superhero setting. Not one. Big 0. Issue 0, right? This is a cover for issue number 1. I'm also working on a Speakeasy comic. Here's a sample of this. This is not the final images. These are the roughs for my comic. This is set in a sci-fi setting that is themed, it's heavily themed off of Prohibition and 1920s Earth. You know, this comic is not finished. You know, things that I'm working on. Like I said earlier on the stream, I work on a lot of stuff, and I got a lot of real world, personal things happening that are taking up huge chunks of my time, so I don't get to advance these quite enough. This is a comic in the world of Gemini. This comic is happening in the Ilori Republic on the continent of Abidu. Jeez, this is one of the pages. Again, this is the in-progress work. I've done a few of these pages actually on stream, though I don't think the videos are up. I think you have to go to my YouTube to see the videos on this. You know, one of the sketches. Oh, this is gonna open up another thing. I'm gonna crash my computer. I've got so much things open. But yeah. Not really going to fit into it. Only illustrations you'll find from me on my stuff really going to be characters, creatures, and maybe some important props. Yeah, I'm an artist, illustrator, writer, cartographer. I even do 3D artwork. I haven't been doing it lately because I can't find the time to sort of fit it in. But I've done 3D artwork. And I illustrate almost everything. Like, I can't help but do it. You know, if let's go to the not comics, RPG stuff. All right, got a lot of different RPG things that I'm working on. If I just go to the adventure ideas, some are illustrated. I don't know if you remember the Thunderbird. Thunderbird was an SMTT one-shot that had the squirrels of the squirrel wood. And this was when I mentioned the Squirrel Necromancer was in this game. This was a D&D game that I ran called The Big Bad Wolf. This was not my illustration, but a photo mashup, a photo edit that I did between several different illustrations. This is an illustration for a game that I've been running called The Land Between Tick and Tock. This is also a Saturday morning tabletop game, but this is rated MA. This is a pretty difficult game. You know, same illustration, but that was the second game that needs to happen, called Gemini. Another photo edit was the troll hunt. And several different images, you know, put together. I do it for freaking everything. Did it for the King of the Hill. What else? Matchstick. This is an image for the beginning of Matchstick. This adventure is actually available in the beginner game. You know, that's the mayor. This basically tells you the summary of the beginning of the game, like how to begin the game. I did the same thing for the Squirrel King. Where is it? Reign of the Squirrel King. I gotta. Yeah, why did I click that? I shouldn't be loading up Photoshop. I'm really gonna crash my computer. Too much stuff. Where's the other? I've got a poster for this too. That's different. Somewhere in the Squirrel King, a little letter. Is it this one? I don't know why I don't have the image saved out. Yeah. Reign of the Squirrel King. And then this is the primer for the adventure. My grandmother's necklace is gone, robbed from me by the grubby little hands of a squirrel legionnaire. It's a memento from my grandmother and brings me luck at sea. I can't leave port without it. Hey, you know, this is the beginning of that. Then I have, oh my goodness, on my Facebook, I've shared a bunch of images for the campaign I'm running, Hero School, in Season 2 Nevermore, which unfortunately is paused. Alright, Kenny. Yeah, you gotta get some work done? Yeah, I think I should. I've been on here for far too long without eating. You know, I haven't had breakfast, and I've been on here almost 4 hours. So maybe I should go too. You know, when I get into talking about RPGs and the things that I'm doing, I lose myself because those are things that I love so much. So, to you, Kenny, thank you for joining. To everybody else, thank you for joining me and dealing with my little bit of insanity. My insanity. Yeah. So until next time. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please. No. Until I see you, ladies and gents, next time. Next time we do this bit of insanity. Peace.